In this video, we'll be looking at lookup functions in Excel. First one up is VLOOKUP, which searches for a value in the first column of a table and returns a value from a specified column in the same row, and it works vertically. XLOOKUP searches for a value in a range or table and returns a corresponding value from another range, and it can be searched both vertically and horizontally. And last up is index match, which combines the index and match functions for flexible lookups. Match finds the row/column position, and index returns the value based on that position. This also allows lookups in any direction and working well with dynamic ranges. Okay, so we have our data here for our video, and we have our question to be answered over here to the side. The ones in blue will be using a VLOOKUP, green XLOOKUP, and gray index match. So the first question is we have to find out what the city is for this specific deal ID, which is in M4. And let's go right into the blue row so we get started. And I'm going to type out VLOOKUP and I'll explain what goes into this criteria. Like I said, these lookup functions are a little bit more complex than all the others we've worked on. So it's really important to follow along for this part. So the first part for VLOOKUP is what is the lookup value? And based off our question, we're trying to find where this ID matches with the city. So lookup value will be what's in M4. You could also type it as well, but I'm going to put it M4 so it's a little bit easier for us to do this. Next up is table array. So basically it's saying where is this exactly coming from? Now, it's much easier if this data is actually in a table format within Excel. However, everything here to the side is just regular information. So what we want to do is take up the entire table. So let's just do this right here. There we go. And the next part is the column index number. So like I said, VLOOKUP looks up vertically. So this goes off by number. So for example, if I type in the number 1, it's going to look at column B since that's the first column in the table array that we started. Sales rep being 2, date 3, and so on. So we're trying to find the city. So city is not the first, not the second, not the third. It's the fourth column. So I'll type in number 4. And then what comes after this is also very important. The range lookup. If we say true, it's an approximate match. If we say false, we want an exact match. And I'll be honest, 99.9% of the time, I write false. So I'm going to go right ahead and say false because I want an exact match in this situation. Click enter, and we get Philadelphia. So like I said, this would be very helpful. Obviously, this is a much smaller data set. But the reason why we are using this smaller data set is that you can easily see what's happening. But of course, this comes in handy when you have thousands of rows and you have to find out quick information. Next one up is we have to find what the probability is for the deal ID over here in M6. And like I said, just a quick reminder that VLOOKUP is very specific in this one way. And this is kind of where it's going to be a little bit different, as you'll see later with XLOOKUP and index match, is what you're looking up has to be in the first column of your table array. So for example, if I went to here and I changed the table array to be, let's say, C3, it'll come back NA, right? So it needs to always be in the first column within your table array. That is one of the biggest downfalls of VLOOKUP, which is why things like XLOOKUP came out. Just giving a quick heads up about that. So let's go right into the next question. So let's start off with our VLOOKUP. And our lookup value will be what's in M6. Put a comma. We'll do a table array. And I'm also going to show another example that we don't also have to do the entire data. Like we could, for example, start here in B3. And we see where probability is. We could just stop there and go down. We don't need to include company size because it's not going to be needed for this. Let's put in a comma. And column index, so we have to think which column is probability since we're looking for that. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. That's 7. And we want an exact match. Close that up. And 22%. So the deal ID right here has a 22% chance of happening. Okay, so next question we have here is what's the sales rep for this deal ID? Now, in my personal opinion, I'm a huge fan of XLOOKUP. A huge fan. I just find the syntax of it to be a little bit easier to work with, way more flexible, and I hope you're able to see this right here. So first one up, we have the sales rep. So let's start this off with equals XLOOKUP. And let's look at this formula really quickly. It's very similar to XLOOKUP, where you have the lookup value, lookup array, and return array. Now the thing is with XLOOKUP is it could look either vertically or horizontally. You don't have to create something like a table array. It's pretty simple, and I'm going to show you right now. So lookup value is right here in M8. And the lookup array, we don't have to do the entire table. We just have to say, okay, where in this data is this ID located in? Well, it's located in the deal ID columns. So let's just go here. That is our lookup array. And the return array is okay. So we found where the ID is. Now, what do you want us to return? We want the sales rep. So we just go right here to C3 and go right here. We can close that up. And we get Dana Lee's answer. So like I said, I find XLOOKUP to be, I'll show the code right here. I just find it to be a little bit easier to work with. A little bit easier. You don't have to really count columns. You don't have to worry about things like a table array. You just got to know what you're looking for, know where it's located, and then also know exactly what you're looking for within the data to bring in the return. Okay, so next up, we have to figure out what the deal size is for this ID. So let's start off with XLOOKUP again. XLOOKUP. We're going to be pulling in the ID from M10. And just like before, we have to think, okay, what's the lookup array? It's coming from the deal ID column. So let's take that up. And deal size, it's in the deal size column. So G3 all the way down. Let's close it up. And okay, so we get a little bit of an issue here. We get an NA, so that means that there is no match. Nothing came up. Now, what could be the reason? The most likely reason is that ID is actually not in our data. So what's great about an XLOOKUP that's a little bit different from VLOOKUP is we can handle errors that happen. So if I go into here, open up the cell again. Now you see right here in brackets where it says if not found, that means it's optional. It means you don't have to use it, but it's there if you want to. And what's great about this is because this was not found in our data, we could say whatever we want. If something doesn't come back, we could say, for example, not found, right? So let me put in quotes, not found. So what this is essentially saying is if nothing returns from this lookup, I want to say not found. And there we go. It's very, very helpful for handling errors because especially if you're doing lookups, there might be times where you're doing them and if there's thousands of rows and nothing comes up, it get really messy. So having that error handling comes in very handy for XLOOKUP. Okay, so next up, we have to figure out what the date qualified was for this ID. And what's a little bit different, right? We're not using VLOOKUP or XLOOKUP anymore. We are using index match. So let's go right over here into our column. And I'm going to type in equals index to start it off. And this one's a little bit different. It's combining index and match within the same. So there'll be a little bit of nesting going on. So make sure you're following along for this. So what we have to do is we have to think, okay, we're trying to find date qualified for the ID. Where with VLOOKUP and XLOOKUP, we put in right away what we want to find. This one's a little bit different where we have to figure out, we want to find the date qualified part first. So where is date qualified located? It's located right here in D3. Let's go all the way down. And then next I'm putting a comma, and I'm going to do a match. Now with this, it looks a little bit similar to the VLOOKUP and XLOOKUP, where with match, it's like, okay, what's the lookup value? Well, with the lookup value, we are looking for the ID. And where is this located? It is located right here in B3, down to B25. And it asks for a match type. And we want an exact match with this. We don't want greater than, less than, just we want an exact match. So I'll put in a 0, close up my match, and let me close up the index to finish it off. Click enter, and we get our date right there. So like I said, it's a little bit different than the VLOOKUP and XLOOKUP, right? But it's extremely flexible. It can really look at anything within the data, vertically, horizontally, and it can be very, very powerful for your work. Okay, last but not least, we have to find the city for the ID right here. So using index match again, equals index. And we got to think, right, where is city located? City is located right here in E3, down in E25. Let's put in a comma because then we have to use the match part for this. And the match is what's the lookup value, which is located right here in M14. Put in a comma. Where is this ID located? is located in the deal ID column. So let's select our range. And we want an exact match. Close it up both times. And we get New York. So New York is located for its ID, and we are all set to go right there. I want to thank you so much for following this course. We went anywhere from basic math functions down to text and finished up here with lookup functions. Make sure to follow for more courses coming up in the future. Make sure to take your quiz and get your certificate at the very end. Thanks so much, and I'll see you over on the next one.